Hello, welcome to the Just Ask Bob show on Hamilton's Cable 14. I am Bob Asadorian. This show is interactive. It's for you, Hamilton. This is the home improvement show where you can send us all of your questions. Doesn't matter, brick repairs, roof repairs, drywalling, mudding and taping. Send all your questions to www.justaskbob.com. And if you don't have email or internet, 289-649-0196. It should be on the bottom of your screen right now. Send us the questions, and your questions may be answered on this show. On the last show, we drywalled. I taught everybody how to install drywall, how to screw it, how to put on the ceiling pieces, how to board everything together. Now we're going to be mudding and taping. In response also to a question here that arrived some time ago. This is from Kim in Hamilton, Ontario. Dear Bob, I wish to replace the plaster in my home with modern drywall and want to use the best materials possible with respect to the mud and taping work. Where do I begin, Bob? There seems to be so much misinformation out there. I get a lot of different opinions from everybody. Some say use regular mud and tape, others say use setting type compounds. What do you use, Bob, on your own job sites? Well, Kim, I'm really happy that you want to use the best materials. As a contractor, let me tell you, all the money you spend on the trades or on the contractor you hire is in the labor. Very, very small difference in the material. So if you're doing it yourself, always buy the best. Let me start by demystifying some of the materials. Now, we have here Durabond 90. Durabond 90 is setting type compounds. To sort of keep it on the simple side, you've got setting type compounds which come in powder form. Thankfully, it does come in a small package as well. So the Durabond 90, you have to mix it. Now, this is what homeowners seem to not want to do. They want to just buy it in a big pail, and it's already made, and it's easy. Now, this one does come made, but there's a very special reason for that. This is extra light. Now, although it does come made, you still have to scoop it out, you have to put it in your pan, and you have to agitate it. You really have to whip it up. It should be similar to the consistency of whipped cream. The final product here, I love this. Dry Tech by DAP. This is spackling compound which goes on pink and dries white. This is at the very end, even after you've applied the primer and even after you've applied your first coat of paint. Now, the big difference, mixed versus non-mixed. When you've installed your drywall, not every wall is plumb and square. You're going to have some gaps. You've got to seam sheets together. You want structure. You want strength. The number one problem with new home construction or even remodeling, you get cracks. You get cracks in corners, cracks where two outside walls meet. You get screws popping. You get joints moving. The reason is, this stuff here, loved by the trades, loved by the homeowners because it's cheap and it's easy. What you want to do is use Durabond 90 setting type compound. This is structure. This is full strength. It's not sandable. So you have to be careful. You're going to use this in the beginning to achieve strength along with the mesh tape. The mesh I love. Forget about the paper. No paper tape and none of this whippy stuff on the first coat. You're going to use the mesh. You're going to use Durabond 90. You're going to achieve structure. Then you're going to use 2 to 3 coats of extra light, depending how good you are with the joints. After that, you're going to put a little bit of pink on. Now let me show you the tools of the trade here. This 2-inch, 2.5-inch, it's for getting in the tight areas. Also, as you're going to see in a while, it's for mixing up the batch. Then we've got a 4-inch. The 4-inch is the main taping knife. It's for use for the first coat. Then we're going to use the 8.5-inch. This is beautiful. This is definitely required in order to have invisible joints. You figure a bedroom, a basement, a kitchen, throughout your home, you've got dozens, if not over 100 sheets of drywall. These tools are what makes it invisible to the eye. And of course, the famous inside corner tool. This is for the 90-degree angles. Now, the first step is we're going to mix up the Durabond 90. We're going to show you how to mix it up. Cold water. Make absolutely certain you only use cold. This is a very odd product. It's a setting compound, so you want to make sure you absolutely follow the manufacturer's directions. And the important thing also is it sets in 90 minutes. So you have to work fast. You want to have the pail wet. Like I said, good thing it comes in small packages as well. Okay, a little more water. You want to lock it in place with your boots. Keep adding water as you need to. You have to remember, you only get one chance to mix this right. According to the manufacturer, you shouldn't be adding too much water after it's done. Sometimes it helps to actually use the putty knife, and you want to agitate it. You want to scoop it down. There's going to be powder in the bottom. That's natural. So you want to make sure you get the bottom mixed thoroughly into the top. Just a tad more water, get a little bit creamy. Okay, and the final step, many people are going to apply it to the wall directly out of the pail. That's not easy. You want to put it in a tray, because every so often you're constantly flicking. You want to have a nice straight edge to flick and flick. So I'm going to load this up into the tray. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to start mudding our walls. Welcome back to the show. Durabond 90s mixed. Mixed and ready, toothpaste consistency. First step before we start applying is our light switch here. A lot of times when you're installing drywall, you're going to have to cut around obstacles. Very important, especially if your cuts weren't perfect. I don't know who drywalled this one, but in any case, let me show you how to repair it. Very easy. If you notice right here, this is a perfect cut. This will take mud nicely. All this jaggedness has to go. You need a very sharp blade, and you want to literally saw through it. Very important. I call this carving. A lot of people skip this step, but you're not going to get a good mudding job. That can have mud applied to it, not that. It'll end up showing through the final paint. And it makes a terrible job of sanding. It's not that hard. You have to have some patience. There we go. That's ready. And of course, always make sure the power is off. This is just my dummy prop, so nothing's on. Okay, we've got the Durabond 90. 4-inch knife, and you want to pack it. Now again, I want to stress the difference now. Do not use extra light or pre-mixed mud for this step. All it's going to do is crack. Durabond 90 sets like stone, sets like cement. It's non-sandable. So if you notice the excess, swath it off. Even if you get some up somewhere by accident, take it off. It's not sandable. The extra light, no big deal. But then again, you don't want to make a mess with the extra light either. Who wants to spend a weekend sanding? Now all that matters here is the penetration. Each time I fill it and I push it, it sinks further back. It's all about the penetration. The finish doesn't matter as long as you don't leave any extra on, because remember, it's not sandable. Take off any extra. That's absolutely fine. We've just finished sealing the perimeter around the light switch. Now it's time to address the corners. Fantastic product here. Sheetrock flexible metal tape. As you can see, we've used it earlier on the inside corners. It's a very nice product. You can use it on inside corners. You can bend it to form a 90 on your outside. This replaces what used to be used back in the day, which was an actual steel corner. Much easier to use. However, do not set this in regular extra light compound. You can. The directions will tell you so. And most new home construction is set in extra light compound. That's why you get cracks on your inside and outside corners. Let me show you now what we need. We've got our Durabond 90, as like before. 5-inch knife. You want a very light coat on the inside edge. You don't want to put on too much because it is going to ooze out. You want to make sure to apply it to both sides. Again, it's all in the mix. That's why it really needs to be toothpaste consistency, and you have to work fairly quickly with it. Now, sometimes your drywall doesn't meet perfectly. That's another excellent reason for using setting type compound. So if you see what I'm doing now, I'm pre-filling the gap. This is very important. You don't want to be installing your corner tape over dead airspace. Once you pack this in and it dries, it's actually stronger than the original drywall. Swipe it clean, you've got your perfect fill. But again, you want to keep on putting it on for the metal corner tape. Pack it on both sides. Earlier I mentioned that when you fill the pail, you want to dump it in here because you got to keep wiping your putty knife. You'll see why in a moment. Now we've got the tape. You want to crease it, and you want to start at the top. Always clean the knife. And you want to use the push nice and tight into the corner. Now you want to start removing the excess. If you really pay careful attention, you're going to see little holes, tiny little holes in the paper. That lets the Durabond 90 setting compound ooze right in, and it locks it dead. So that's very important. Now, if it's your first time working with this product, it can be fairly painful because the paper can want to crease or bend. You've got to be very careful to get all the Durabond 90 out, or else you're going to have nothing but a bubble in there. So at some point, you put your finger in, and you press, you pull. See the oozing? Press, 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 wipe off. It's that simple. Same thing on the other side. Remember, like I've said before, this stuff cannot be sanded. You don't leave any extra residue. Very careful at the top, get it all off. If you do have a little bit of residue, you scrape it off at the end. But ideally, this isn't sandable. Now I've got the bottom half to finish. We're going to take a break. Right after the break, we're mixing up one of my favorites. Extra creamy, extra light, and we're going to start putting extra light throughout. Welcome back to the Just Ask Bob show. Earlier, we're finishing the drywall, the corners. So what we did is we inserted the steel inside corner. We got it on with setting type compound, Durabond 90, which as the name says, dries in 90 minutes. Now it's time for extra light. Again, this is the number one people make the mistake because it's ready. You don't have to add water. They want to use this as a one-all. It doesn't come that easy. There is not one product for everything. So now you want to get generous scoops. Although you don't add water, you still have to mix. It's not quite toothpaste consistency yet, but it's very easy to mix. It just has to be agitated. Okay. No water necessary. A lot of wrist work. You could use a mixer. You could use a paddle blade with the cordless drill. For small amounts, I mean, you can see the middle. Look at that. Look at the difference compared to the ends. This has no strength. This is 100% cosmetic. When applied right, this is what makes a paint job, whether it's your basement, living room, dining room, or rec room. Okay. Now, I guess first spot that starts the screw heads. Very easy. That's it. Now, it might take you more applications, but again, I've been doing this for a long time. No good. Every now and then, you're going to find that you might have burst or damaged the paper. That's no good at all. What you want to do is cut out the damaged paper. You see, that's an outie. It has to be an innie. Get the damaged paper out, carve it like I taught you earlier around the outlets. You don't want fuzz, you don't want any outies. Now let's give it a try. No good, you don't want the screw head showing that much. Perfect. Now I want to show you something else, another mistake. You really have to listen carefully for this though. No good. And this happens. Sometimes not every screw is perfect. Very easy. Little bit of a sink. Okay, now for the inside corners. Now this time you want to put on a little more mud than with the setting compound. With the setting compound, you only wanted to put on a little bit because you don't want it oozing out. So you want a little more in this case. You want to keep it more to the insides. You see how I shave a little bit off and then reapply. Now the extra light is completely sandable, very easy to sand, but again, you don't want to spend the weekend sanding. Okay, now we've got our inside corner trowel, very important tool. You want to make sure it's nice and clean. Now here's where the experience comes in. This is trial and error for beginners. But you can see essentially this tool helps finish both sides at the same time. It's not always perfect. That's nice. Up here, you can see a little bit of the green. So you want to get a little bit more coverage in. Or a little bit more mud. Now remember, it doesn't have to be perfect the first shot. This has to be sanded within 24 hours and then a second coat applied. Maybe you're ready for primer and paint, or you need a third. But again, you don't want to leave it like that. That's going to take a whole weekend to sand. It's all about how much pressure you put on the tool. That's about enough. And again, you want to make sure you can dissipate it a little bit. You want to get the fat edge off so you're not having to always sand. Okay, we'll finish this at another time. Thank you for watching the Just Ask Bob show, which I may say is interactive. Everybody, call, email. It should be on the bottom of your screen any moment. www.justaskbob.com. New website address, you may be thinking, not quite. It's the same website you've known for nearly 9 years with a new address, an easier address to remember, Just Ask Bob. Or for those of you that don't use internet, 289-649-0196. I personally return every phone call and I read every single email. Now I've got a little shout out to throw out to everybody in Hamilton. This is for Hamilton. This is a contest. I want your submissions. Let's call it Desperate Housewives, for example. Everybody's got a to-do list. Is it the husband that's not putting up the tile, or is he not fixing the faucet, putting together the children's furniture? Doesn't matter. When he's out golfing Sunday, I'll arrive for the show. You have a chance to win Just Ask Bob in your home to tackle your own to-do lists. I want details. Never mind just what the renovation is. I want to know why it's not happening. I want to know why somebody's not chipping at the to-do list. Send us the email, send us the details, and also, very important requirement to enter the contest. Like us on Facebook. Log on to Facebook, Just Ask Bob. You're going to find us, like us, visit the website, use our quick submit form, whether it's drywall tips, whether it's teach you how to lay some kitchen tile, or change a faucet, or fix that running toilet. Contact us anytime. Now I want to end it with a small note. Somebody very special told me a definition a few weeks ago. The definition of, or the difference between reality TV and real television. Reality television, nothing but bull, nothing but scripted nonsense. Real television is this. Real television, Hamilton, is the Just Ask Bob show. Ask me why. Because I'm a real contractor, 10 years in the making. If you haven't noticed, this is my real garage at home where we're shooting these shows, and these are real rentals. Thank you so much. Look forward to the next show. Bye, Hamilton.